let's see if this is actually working for a change. Because I've been struggling with this for over an hour now, and it still says it's not working. So let's see if this is working now. Dial in. There it is. There's a wonderful screen that shows you nothing of value. So that's perfect. Hello, Anthony. Trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with all of this. So OBS normally has a window that allows me to see chat, but for some reason that window is lost, which is kind of kicking my butt at the moment. Let's see, so let's move my things to do out of the way. Yeah, where the hell did the chat go for this stupid thing? Cam screen, properties, filters, select source, OBS. Where is this? OBS show chat for YouTube stream. Otherwise, I have to keep the streaming thing open, and having both of them open at the same time really sucks. How to see your chat while streaming with OBS. Yay. Oh, God, I don't want a video. Don't show me a video. How to get chat on screen in OBS. Chat overlay for whatever. Widgets chat box. All right, so let's do that. So let's find stream. That's me. Yay. Okay. There should be a window. Docs, UI, settings, chat. That is what we want. Great. Now I can actually get to work, and I can close this stupid window. Okay. So what are we working on today? Well, I am working once again on a game. Only have maybe 3 hours to work today because I've got a busy night tonight. But what I thought I would do is show a few things off first. This is a gift from two of my best friends for my birthday, which was last month. Came in a little late though, but this is an Ort Cloud. This is what the gaming company I'm making is named after. So that was kind of nice of them. So I just need to find a place to put it that will actually look good. And I will worry about that later. For now, we'll put this down here so it doesn't fall and break. So, last we left off, we were playing with Poop Chute. And actually, I was playing with this even more off stream. As you can see here, we even have a stomach, and it fills up. But as I was trying to figure out how this whole stupid thing was going to work, I realized I hate the entire concept of everything we're doing here. It doesn't work on so many levels. One, the aspect ratio of the game is wrong. This is a very vertical game. I tried tinkering with the idea of rotating it 90 degrees. So if we take the main camera, go to inspector, and we rotate this. Let's see, not that way. Let's rotate it. Nope, not that way. Let's do it this way. There we go. Z. Even if we rotate it this way, it just stops being intuitive at that point, right? Because things supposed to flow down. Standard computer screen is 16 by 9. It's not going to work. So instead, how do we make this actually work? Well, I decided this isn't very fun. Even if we add the intestines and all the stuff else, there's not a whole lot going here. So I've completely redone the entire concept of the game. And instead of calling it Poop Chute, it is now called the Insatiable Wyrm, or Feed the Insatiable Wyrm. The idea now is, if we go to my folders and we open up this project, let's go to desktop, find Poop Chute. We'll need to rename that at some point. Go to concept art. So this is what I spent some time doing, was trying to figure out how this was going to work. So actually, can we rotate this? Let's do a resize slideshow fit to a note. Where's the rotate? It should be up here, right? There we go. So this is going to be how the game works. It still involves poop in a sense, or it still involves feeding in a sense, but the setting is Middle Ages, fantasy world, right? And you have 3 parts to the screen. We have the left part of the screen where you are feeding the elder god who is, living in your area, and your job is to keep this thing happy so it can continue. Well, you don't know why. You just know that if it's unhappy, bad things happen. But what's actually happening is, because this is a multi-dimensional, otherworldly being, when does it say you'll get your stream deck? I'll open that up in a minute and let you know. It didn't tell me that I'll be getting mine anytime soon, actually. I didn't get a notice or anything. It says it's still pushed back to, I think, winter this year, something like that. No, I'm not giving Valve my anonymous hardware. Fine, you can have it. It's old. It doesn't really matter. So let's go to, let's see, what, pre-orders, right? So let's find that. Oh, where the hell are you? Steam Deck. It was just up here the other day. Let's look at it here. Steam Deck. So when am I getting mine? My reservation is still slated, according to this, for Q4 of October or December this year, which is still pretty soon. That's not too bad at all. So you were right, everything got moved up, but I didn't get my I didn't get an email or anything about it actually happening. So we're going to wait a while for that one still. So that should be fun. Anyway, back to the game itself. So the idea being now that instead of you feeding someone on a toilet, it's now an elder god. The middle of the screen is going to be an interdimensional battleground where the things you feed it are being used for this elder god to wage war on other gods and so forth. And what you feed it is then going to turn into power-ups, fireballs, ice things, just absolutely crazy, insane stuff. Oh, wow, you got yours 4 days ago. That's awesome. That's actually pretty nice. I'm glad you got yours. Let me know how it works out for you. You're saying it's pretty cool. I'm guessing all the games you're working or playing with on it, everything works just fine. Let me know if you try anything that isn't meant to work on the console itself. I'm kind of interested in knowing how things that are not meant for that system work with it. But so the Cosmic Battleground is in the center, and I'm not sure the gameplay yet on this. All I know is it's probably going to be more like a space shooter type thing where you're, moving things and attacking waves of enemies that are coming at you with crazy, amazing battles of just ridiculous stuff. If you ever played Risk of Rain 2, you know how in the later levels things kind of get crazy with giant monsters and just weird things. It's probably going to go along that route. Now, what I'm not so sure about is the last third of the screen is going to be where you also need to manage the waste material of the thing you are feeding, right? So in this case, we've got a butt and we've got carts that are going to be on the other end, and you also need to make sure that you aren't filling up things, right? Because the idea is, to everyone on this plane of existence, you are just feeding a giant monster that will cause horrible things to happen. But unbeknownst to you, but why this thing is really there is that it's really fighting this interdimensional war against other powerful beings. But you still need to manage its input and its output to do whatever is going on in the middle. So we'll see how this works. But what I would like to do is open up these in Photoshop now. You can see one of the objects that I drew yesterday. All of these, for the most part, were made yesterday while I had a little bit of free time to do some drawing. But I'm going to take the concept piece that I've done here now and cut it up and bring it into Unity to become my background, so that as I start filling in things, I'll just place them on top. So this is going to be our start point, and it's going to keep me moving through this entire project. So let's crop this thing down to begin with. And this is roughly 16 by 9, which is going to be the size of the screen that we're working on as well. So if we do something like that, it should work just fine. And then we're also going to Control L for levels, and then we're going to try to get rid of some of the annoying artifacts. Let's try to use the camera raw filter on this first, and then we'll play around with some other things to try to get those shadows, because I took this with my cell phone because I do not have a printer that has a scanner bed large enough to do this. So if we go to shadows, we can see if we can try to get rid of some of these shadows. It's not working too well from what I'm seeing here. The technique that I normally use, and it's kind of old school, if we don't want to use this thing, I'm gonna get rid of it. Cancel this. Yes, I want to cancel that. The technique I normally use is I take the layer, I duplicate it right here. I'll go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. I'm going to blur the hell out of this. We're going to zoom out a little bit so I can better see. And the idea is to get rid of all the actual detail and to just keep these sort of shades of where shadow should or shouldn't be. Then I am going to invert that layer. So now darks are lights, lights are darks, and then we will go to Overlay, or we'll go to something like sometimes hard light or vivid light will work a little bit better, but we can start we can start balancing things out. So I'm going to hit Control U. Control U brings up hue saturation. I'm going to unsaturate that. And you'll notice the difference here as I do that. We're getting rid of those colors because really all I want to affect here are the lights and darks of the image. I'm going to do the same thing for the underlying layer. There's no reason to have coloration in this image whatsoever. Now we're going to come over here. I'm going to hit Control L to bring up the levels. I'm going to try to re-level this. And as I do that, you'll start to really see that we're getting rid of that shadow on that other far side. And this is, just playing around with it a little bit, trying to get something right. So I'm going to hit OK. That's not so bad. I'm going to go back to the original layer, hit Control L again, and then we are going to see if I can't do anything with that. It's not working so well. So what I think I want to do is, rather than manipulate those underlying layers, we're going to create a what are they called in Photoshop? I'm so used to Substance Painter at this point, I don't know. I'm going to click on this one, and we're going to go to a levels, what do they call this in Photoshop? It doesn't even show up a prop, whatever. To me, it's a filter. So we're going to put a filter on top of this. So this is going to happen after everything else. Hit this, and we're going to try to manipulate this. And the idea behind this filter is I want to get the dark, oh wow, that does not look good. I want to keep the dark bits, but I want to get rid of the brighter white parts. So this is meh, it's okay. We can go back to the underlying layers and start tweaking here as well to see if we can get rid of some of this nonsense. So there we go. Maybe this. It's really these dark values down here that I don't like. So let's see if we can't, no, that's not helping us. That's definitely not helping us. Can't ray trace. Oh, you'll never get ray trace poop. That's never going to happen. So here we have the general concept of what I want the background to look like. So let's go ahead and save this out. Now the size of this is going to be important because I'm not sure right yet. Let's go to, so we have PT, which stands for prototype in my naming convention, and then underscore insatiable worm is what I was calling it at that time. We'll open this scene up and clear this out. And you can already see that I was starting to move elements around. So if we hit run, the emitters now are off to the side. So this was created as I was trying to figure out why I don't like any of this. Let's start getting rid of the elements that don't make any sense. That is going to be, let's move the game view out of the way for now. So in the scene view, we can get rid of the stomach, which I had added at another time. And then what do we have? We have food tube pivot, which we don't need anymore. That's not going to do anything. Our toilet, we can go away as well. So here's our environment. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. So we have a food spawner 1 and a food spawner 2. These are going to have to change. But what I really want to do now is, that's it, withdrawing my investment. I'm so sorry. Refer all rebates to YouTube, courtesy of, I have no idea how that even works. Actually, how to refund anything. Actually, I do. I did that like 7 years ago because a student jumped into one of my chats, and and they were trying to figure out how it worked, and they had given me $1. But I'm actually not sure how to do that otherwise. Eventually, there will be ray tracing, but we've got a lot of work before we get there. I would like to do ray tracing just for fun. So the issue here is the backdrop, and how do I want this? So let's go ahead and do a file, save as. We're going to do a Photoshop. We have concept art. What I would like to do is create a Photoshop folder with just Photoshop elements. We're going to save the screen layout, and then we are going to save a copy of this and get this working. So screen layout, that's fine. And let's go to, so this is concept art. Let's go to Unity, Poop Chute, Assets, right click, create a new folder, and let's say this, just concept. We'll save this as a PNG. What's going to happen to this image is Unity doesn't like working with non-power of 2. I mean, it can. The GPU supports it, it can. So it will probably end up scrunching this. I need to remember that I'm working with a 16:9 screen as I'm doing this. So a lot of times it's handy to keep the game view open early on when prototyping. So here you'll notice I've set this to 16:9 aspect ratio because that's what I'm designing this for. Will it work in a larger context? Of course. Do I care right now? Not really. So here's our screen layout. All we're going to need for this is a plane. So we can go to 3D object and create a plane. We need this to be rotated. Could also do a quad, but it doesn't really matter yet. Interesting, let's go to, let's see, our pivot point on a plane Z forward, you'll notice is this direction. I don't like that, so let's go back to 3D object, do a quad instead. And you'll notice even a quad I don't love because I personally like Z forward to be coming out of the side that I'm working with, not the wrong side, but it's fine for now. Let's go ahead and scale this up and center this. So let's go ahead and do a reset over here to my transforms. So there it is right there. And now we can just play with the scale. So let's frame up, move it over here, and scale this up until it kind of fills our whole window here. We'll go to screen layout. Right now the screen layout is set to a default texture. We're going to need to create a few things. Let's make a material and call this screen layout. Also, this material, standard is a bit over. Let's do unlit, and we will do a texture. We will grab this one, place it here, grab the screen layout material, and attach it to this object. Now, notice the stretching issue that we have. So what we want to do is make sure that this is something 16 by 9. So we're going to do some math. We'll bring out a calculator in a minute. I'm going to try to scale this down to like, I don't know, what is that? That's pretty close. That's 17.5, 17.5. Copy, paste, and paste. Now we just need to do some math. So actually, we can do math in the inspector, can't we? So we could do, what, 16 divided by 9 is equal to 1.7777. Wow, that's a crap number, isn't it? So we're going to multiply that ratio by, 17.5 is equal to 31.11111. So let's try putting that in as our x. So 31.11111, enter on our scale, and you'll notice now that this almost fills the entire screen. So we've kind of compensated for the fact that the image is going to be resized to a power of 2, and then now we're stretching this out to work with things. Okay, so now that we have some concept, we can start throwing in the different elements. So what elements do we need to make? That's a wonderful question. Maybe that's a good time to bring out the design doc and start filling that in as well, right? So let's, screw it. Here's a wish list. Let's just say working list for right now. The first thing we're going to need to do is food needs to be launched into the mouth. So we're not going to use physics this time. We're actually going to fire this off into the face. The next thing we need to do is we need the mouth in the middle. We need the boundaries, interdimensional boundaries. We need a movable mouth thing on the inside where you fire. We're also going to need the enemies, which are going to be waves at this point, and then we need the rear end. Since we're streaming, I'll try to be somewhat nice with what I say. And then we're going to need carts, and then we're going to need poop, obviously. So poop comes out, carts take poop. Oh, we're also going to need specialized mouse controls for this entire thing, but we will get to that. So what I'd like to do now is start bringing in pieces of this. So here was the screen layout. We'll close this. Let's go ahead and open up the rest of the concept art and start modifying that. Now I scanned this concept art really high res, so there's a good chance that things are going to start running really bad. We will see what happens, and if I have to, I will close other assets. So let's see. We've got horn. Do I have the horn? Yeah, we'll get rid of the horn there. So that's one less file open. So we've got that thing, we've got this thing, and then we've got this thing over here. So first, I need to extract each of these. So let's go ahead and just use a rectangle, grab each one of these, Control Shift C, Control N, Enter, Control V. And it did not copy that. Let's try that again. Control C, Control V, and that's not a good size. So let's try that again. Control N, Enter, Control Create, Control V. Why is this? So normally when you create a copy of something, it remembers the size of that object. So Control C, Control N. Here it says clipboard. If I hit Create, Control V, notice how it's not the correct size. So something wrong is going on here. So what are you doing, Photoshop? Why are you going to pain in the ass? Let's open that up. I'm going to hit Control C again, Control N. 3876. So there's custom, custom, custom. I would like the size of my selection to be used here. So why the hell is it not doing that? I don't want that size. Let's try this again. Let's grab this piece. Control Shift C, Control N. There we go. That's a good size. That's a weird size. That's got to be right. Control V. No, it's not. Control N. See, look at this. 3128 by 5937. But the width and the height don't match that. Do you notice that? So there's some sort of a glitch in Photoshop. Close that one. All right, so let's make some progress now. Close this one, grab this one. We will crop this one down to size. Something like this. Enter. Fewer pixels to worry about. And we'll take this guy, which is one of our enemies. And hit enter, and let's do an image. Image rotation, 90 degrees. Let's do image rotation 180. And then we'll do an image rotation, 90 degrees counterclockwise. That's good, that's good, that's good. And let's grab this little weird ball thing here. Control Shift C, Control N. Make sure that's selected, hit create, Control V. Coming back to this side, we're going to grab this horn. Control Shift C, Control N. Make sure that that's the right size, hit Control V. Oh, I didn't erase this one. Crap, that's going to cause some problems actually. But it's fine for now. Now we can close this image with a lot of extra pixels that don't matter, and we can start manipulating things and getting them to look right. So the first thing we need to do is probably isolate the backgrounds. I should have probably capped these off as I was drawing it, but I didn't. Hit I, hit B for brush, and we can, is that my screen? No, it's not my screen. Unlock this layer, hit OK. Why is that not, oh, my opacity is really low. Let's increase the opacity. And let's increase the opacity to 100%. Much better. There we are. That's getting rid of the junk. And smoothing is a 10. That's fine. That's all good too. So we can work with that. All right. Let's go ahead and try to make a selection. Excuse me. Easiest way to do that is let's try quick selection. That's doing an okay job. We'll make a mask layer on this. I'll hit Control I to invert that. Let's come down here and start grabbing these other elements as well. Okay, so this is where we got to be careful. See how I got like, I'm going to push that out a little bit. That's looking okay. That's fine-ish right there. Let's pop that one back out a bit. And let's push that out. This looks good. This looks good. We're going to push that out a bit. And, what's going on here? Oh, okay. It needs to be pushed out to about there. Push that one, push that one. Come back over. Push, 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 push. And we're just pushing. Pushing pixels. It's like, I feel like Bob Ross, but with Photoshop and weird things. Okay, so now we've got a selection around this entire part. We can hit Shift F5, Enter. That gets rid of all that nasty junk. We can go ahead and start masking out these parts as well. So if we hit Mask, what is it, Alt, I think? And then we can just mask this part out right there. Okay, coming back here, good enough. Just look for anything really bad, because we might want to use these to begin creating. I don't know if we're going to do 3D models, if we'll keep everything hand-drawn. No idea. Double-click on this layer. Excuse me, hit Control. Let's add a filter to this, really. Do a Levels, and start trying to figure out something that's going to work for us. So maybe that is good, and we will save this out before we lose it. So this is under, let's see, not concept art. We're going to go to Photoshop, and let's say this, let's just call it butthole, because that's really what it is. It is a horrifying, horrifying butthole. And I apologize to anyone watching that you have to see this. Let's see, coming over here, let's do the same for this one. We're going to use I'm going to use a selection. We're going to use quick selection. These objects are so weird, I hesitate. Oh, we could try it. Let's try using the object selection tool and see if it actually knows what to do with something like this. And it does not know at all what to do with this. So let's undo that and just use the quick selection tool instead. I think this is going to be much better for us. It looks like it did a pretty great job. Well, we will invert that selection. Whoops. Invert the selection. Turn off the background layer. Let's see. There's that one. There's this one. Let's add another, let's see, not a mask, but a filter to this one, levels. And move this over here-ish. There we are. Wonderful. And we've got a little bit of junk on the mid side, but who cares? It's good enough. So let's save this, and this is going to be the, possibly the mouth, or it's just going to be more of the wall that's stops you from seeing what's going on inside. This one's a mess, unfortunately. So let's delete the background on this, put another mask on it. Let's add a levels filter. Wow, it's really hot in my basement today. I'm not having fun being down here working on this right now. So we've got some nasty cobweb junk from when I drew this because I didn't erase anything. But we will make do. Actually, this one, no, we'll just do quick selection still. Seems to be doing really well with line art. Okay, let's grab this, hit Shift F5, enter. And that's not what I want. I want to grab this one, Shift F5, enter. And that gets rid of all the junk. There's some not so perfect stuff, but it's good enough. Okay, so we've got that. Let's also just make these a little bit smaller. File save, and we'll call this just a bone horn, or horn underscore bone. Hit OK. And then now we've got this weird ball thing. So let's go ahead and try to work with that. So we'll do a quick selection tool, go all the way around the outside of it, Control I to invert that, grab the background, delete it, and grab another filter on here. So we'll do a levels and move that over to there. That works for me. And maybe we should also crop this a little bit. So I'm going to hit Control and apostrophe to get a grid, and I'm going to find, roughly the center, and then hold down Control and Shift and open that up until I get something squarish. Then we're going to move this square until it's roughly centered somewhere around there. Enter. And that's good enough, I think. So we've got the bone horn. Let's call this, I don't know what this is. Digested blob. Let's just call this blob. Okay. So now we've got a little bit of each of these. We've got a mouth, we've got a butthole, we've got, oh, this thing, this monster thing, right? So let's get this thing done too. This is going to be more complicated, isn't it? So let's double click this to turn it from being background to not background. Go to levels filter on top, move this up and over here. That's good. And we're going to do a quick selection because this one is going to suck. Because there's just a lot of little things, and I'm sure this algorithm is going to overcompensate and grab things it should not. Come on, you can do it, computer. Okay, so that came up and around, and it's missing a little bit in here, so we can go ahead and try to add that in. That's pretty good. And let's jump around, up, through, and back down, and in here, and in there, and in there. Great. And then in here. Okay. Missing tiny bit here, so we'll get rid of this. No, whoops. Come on, computer. Let's do a little bit more. Okay, that's good enough. And let's see. I think we've got some little bits in here that I need to get rid of. So this little piece, that's good. This is good. We're missing this central bit. That goes in and around and over. And there we go. All right, I think I'm good to make a mask. Control I to invert that mask. And now we've got this weird looking thing. What it is, I don't know either. So we'll save this and we'll just say this is a bad guy. I don't know what to call this. Arm monster, something like that. All right, now we've got our assets. We just need to get them in. We could work with the PSD files directly. I believe Unity collapses them down. I would rather not do that. So what I'm going to do instead is create lower resolution versions of these objects. So to do this, we need to change our canvas size first. I want to make these the same for each. So now they're roughly, now they are exactly vertically and horizontally the same. We'll go to image size now. We'll go back to pixels. This is 4,520. What do we want to do? We want to do a power of 2. So 512 times 4 equals times 2 equals 4096. We'll start with 4096 for now. There we go. Okay. And there we are. So file, save as, and what I think we should probably do is make two folders, one called raw, which is the original sort of objects without resize, and then I'm going to call this a scaled folder. Scaled means they've been set to be a size that's going to work best with a computer. From here, we can go ahead and do two things. We're going to save this version out of the butthole. We're going to do the same thing now with the mouth and the other one. So image, canvas size, take the bigger of the two, paste it here, hit OK. Now we've got this. Now we are going, and really what we could do is start doubling these up and putting, because some of these are wide, like this is the mouth and the butt, so we could go in here, Control A, Control C, Control V, put the whole thing in here together, grab this one, move it down here, grab the top one and like move it up there, just so that we have, so it's one object that we're working with rather than multiples. And we can cut this stuff up as sprites in the other program. Not so sure if I want to do that right now while we're prototyping, but that's something we could do. So let's go back and make this work. Great. So image size, pixels, 4096, 4096. Okay, very, very high resolution, way overkill for what we're doing, but it should be fine. We'll go to scaled, we'll put the mouth in there. We're just burning up hard drive space at this point. Image size for this one. Actually, no, image canvas size. Let's start with that. These are the same. That's great. Image size. This one's closer to 2096, but we'll stick with the 4096 sizes for the moment. They are really big, but it's fine. File, save as. Let's do a file, yeah. Save as, and then we're going to go back under scaled, blob, okay. Horn, bone, image, canvas size, 21.92971. Image size, and let's do a, we'll stick to 4096 for now. It's not really needed at all, but it's fine. Save as, scaled, save, okay. Okay, so the bone's done, the blob's done, the mouth's done, the butthole is done, right? Image size, 4096. Now we have this monster that we need to do. So we will do a canvas size, make sure they're the same. Image size, and that's really big, but once again, we're going to keep things at 4096. Perfect. File, save as, and scaled, monster arm, save. And for the last one, this thing. So that's looking okay. I'm trying to see if there's any other problems, but it's looking somewhat okay. Oh, there's a little bit of a blip right here at the bottom. So let's go to the mask and see if we can't paint that back in. Well, we will bring that back like right there. Okay, so image, canvas, hit OK. Image size, 4096 by 4096, hit OK. Yay. And this one we have not saved. So actually, let's undo that and save the raw version of this first. So coming back over to Photoshop, raw, and let's call this Jelly Eye. How about that? Oh, that's a PNG. Let's do file, save as, jellyfish. I don't want a PNG. Why is it doing that? Oh, it's because we haven't done anything. We've just manipulated this directly, so it has no need to save this as a Photoshop file because there's no layers, there's no nothing, because I did this the bad way. And actually, you know what? Understanding that I did this the wrong way, let's go back to the concept art section and reopen this image up. And it doesn't like that, so we're going to close that and try that again. So let's go back to concept art, this thing, and flip it around. Image rotation 180 degrees, and let's crop this down to the right size. Man, it's really getting hot in this basement. And let's go here to levels and try to fix some of that. That's better. We'll come back here, double click to turn off the fact that it's locked, put a, we'll just do this with a quick selection. See how this does. Oh, it's really okay. Let's try this again. Let's do this bit by bit. So we'll choose. Ugh. No. We don't want that. Control D. Yes, we want to keep this part. So there's that. That's good. We want to keep this element. Let's grab this one. Okay. Come on. You can do it. All right, there we are. And let's grab, ugh. Why is it this time it's so bad? And it only took a few seconds the last time I made this to make it work right. There we go. So, note to self, if you're going to make tentacles, it's going to cause this to not work very well. All right, where are we here? Ugh. Can we grab this? Come on. There we go. I really don't feel like doing this by hand. We're going to unselect some of this. There we are. And we're going to unselect these tubule things right here. Same thing going up this. Great-ish. See, we're missing... Oh, God. I screwed that up. Shh. Okay, you know what? Let's change this. I'm going to change the way I do this a little bit. We're going to move this in. We're going to move this in. Hit enter. Less stuff for this thing to worry about. Now we're going to try this. And we're going to start at the top and get these big pieces gone. And then we will hide that out. Control I to invert. And then let's continue to do this. And then we'll see what we grab little bit by little bit as we move through the whole thing. Okay, so there's that. We'll grab this one here. And there we are. Okay. Shift F5, enter. Oh, it didn't work. X would have been the hotkey to make that faster, but I forgot it. Let's go ahead and make this select. Let's see. That looks like it did a great job. Shift F5, enter. Control D, zoom in, select all of this here. Shift F5, enter. Grab this bit. Shift F5, enter. Yeah, see, it's doing a better job this time around than last time. I think giving it that much larger area gives the algorithm something to work with. Oh, see, we lost a little bit right there. But we can go back and do that by hand. Okay, Control D to deselect. Let's select this bit minus this little bit. This bit here, going up and around. This bit, and that one. Yeah, see, it's coming a lot better than when I was just starting with the tentacles. Shift F5, enter, Control D. We've got a couple little bits bad, but not so much. So we'll go back to brush. Whoa, X. Bring that back in. This isn't perfect, but it's okay. It's good enough. And there we go. All right, so do we have everything for this one? Looks like we do. Great. So let's save this now. So Control S for save. We will go to Photoshop and we'll give this thing a name. I think I called it like Jelly Eye. Jellyfish Eye. Okay. And now that we've done that, I almost want to... Yeah, that's better. I like that more. Okay, now we'll go to canvas size and we'll make sure that this is all synced up. Hit OK. Image size. Well, actually, before we do that, let's grab this layer and try to center it. So Control L, and then we're just going to move this a little bit. Now we can go to image, image size, and let's do 4096 by 4096. Hit enter, file, save as, and we'll put this under scaled and work with that. All right, so there's our monsters. So for the moment, let's make sure that real life isn't bothering me with anything at the moment. And now that we've got PSDs of each of these that are powers of 2, we're going to bring these over into the other application, into Unity. So we'll do save copy. We'll do PNGs because I prefer PNGs because we're also working with transparency. We will go to Unity, Poop Chute. We'll do concept, and we'll save these here, but let's get rid of the copy. Save, okay. File, save a copy. I know this is somewhat boring. Most of my live streams are pretty boring. And that's the problem, is that actual work is not usually fun, which is why no one wants to do it. Let's see, let's go to concept, and we will save this as jellyfish eye, save, okay. So we've got the bone, the jellyfish, now we have the blob, save a copy. And so you might be asking yourself, George, why are you playing around with artwork this early on? And it's because I'm the kind of person who really enjoys vertical slices as opposed to creating an entire game. In my mind, certain things only kind of make sense after it starts moving and functioning and it starts breathing, so to speak. So that's how I like to work. I like to start putting together little bits here and there of each piece. What am I doing? We are going under Unity, Poop Chute, Assets, Concept, and Mouth. So the next part we're going to do is, I think we need to get some controls in there once we get these game objects on quads. Another PNG, and Unity, Poop Chute, Assets, Concept, Butthole, Save, okay. All right. Oh, we need the arm monster, because that'll be, I don't know if it might be a boss. Not sure yet. I just started drawing yesterday because I haven't drawn in a very long time. So these are just me starting to try to get back into doing that. All right, so now we have those elements put away. We have the concept pieces over here. I'll keep them in concept for now. Normally I would like to make a better folder hierarchy and structure. One thing I do need to do is grab all of these textures. Default texture type right now is set to default. We could make these sprites and do everything 2D, but I don't know, for some reason in my head I feel like it might be a good idea not to. Let's see, we have sRGB, great. Alpha source, input from that. Alpha is transparency. Let's see, we're going to turn that on. That's going to help with some of the bitmap filtering, if I remember right, and some of the other issues that you might have with transparency. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and change these. Now we've got plus signs next to these. Oh, I was trying to get this whole project on. Whoa, we don't want to show that. Let's close that tab. Not that that even worked. So don't try it, but that was some GitHub information. I couldn't get the thing to work right for some reason. So it's not up on GitHub anyway. Okay, we did that. I'm going to take all of the assets we currently have and just call it old. That includes this food spawner, the main camera, and then, yeah, we're going to grab just all this trash and throw it under old for right now and turn it off. Let's call this concept background. So F2 background. Good. No, real life is yelling at me. Anyway. Real life sucks, so let's ignore it and come back to this. Okay, let's create some objects. Game object. 3D object. Let's make a quad. Let's call this mouth. Okay. So the mouth is really tiny. We're going to move this mouth over here and scale it up to what I would expect the size of the mouth to be, roughly, somewhere like that. And let's see, I also want these, so I'm going to put the concept background inset slightly in the Z direction, so we'll do a -1 right there. I'm also going to, let's see, I believe the camera is set to isometric, right? So if we go under old, let's grab the camera out of old. Excuse me, I'm very tired today. And we have an orthographic camera, so this should be fine. We don't need to worry about it. So we have our mouth. We need to attach the graphic to it. So here's our screen layout. Let's go to Create, Material, and call this Mouth. So there's Mouth. This can be a unlit texture. Oh, unlit transparent texture for right now. Cutout, I guess, would be best for us, right? We'll put a mouth right there. We'll grab the mouth. Whoa, not what I wanted to do. Let me see. Okay, so that's the problem. Is which direction is positive and negative? So Z positive is going this way in the game world, which means that I actually want the game world, the concept background, to not be -1, but a +1 instead. That will make the mouth pop up over here. We can take the mouth and we can move the mouth right there. And we can rotate the mouth 90 degrees by holding down the shift button or the control button while I do that. And let's scale that up a little bit. Okay, so now we have the mouth. The mouth is located at -8.9. Why don't we just put that at -9? Okay, so there's a mouth. And I guess one of the things we can start doing is as we start filling these in, we can just get rid of things, right? So the mouth's location will stay fixed, I believe, for the most part. So we can keep that there. Let's find the mouth, though, and scale it up. That's a little bit too big, isn't it? What is this? -9.1? Maybe 9.2? Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we have a mouth. And I kind of want to give these some color. So let's go to the material for mouth and see if there's a color offset. There is not, so we might just want to write our own shader. But let's see if there is a unlit, transparent cutout. There's a color, not quite what we want. So mouth, Control Delete, duplicate. We're going to call this butthole instead. Move this to the other side. Call this butt. Come back over here. Let's duplicate the mouth texture. Call this butt instead, or the mount material. Find the butthole, put that under the butt, and let's grab the butt and the butt and put the butt on the butt. So here's one thing, is that it's inverted, so we're going to want to flip that around, and the butthole is massive, so we're going to decrease the size of this butt. I'm going to have the demonetized streams, that's for sure, with the content coming through this right now. So this is now a position of 7. I don't know if these positions are what I want to use whatsoever. I have no idea. We'll find out. And let's see. So that's the butt in the mouth. And the idea is that you'll be moving the butt back and forth. Okay, so we've got a butt and a mouth. And now we need some of these other objects, right? So the monster arm is going to be an enemy. So let's just create a new material and call this arm monster. Grab arm monster, set this to be unlit, transparent cutout, and arm monster right there. Let's grab the mouth, Control D, move this somewhere here, and just call this enemy for now. And enemy is going to have an arm butt monster attached to it right there. It's rotated odd. Did I create it that way? So the enemy is, it has 90-degree rotation. That's why. Okay. So we'll take the enemies now. And we're going to scale them to something that makes sense. So let's just do 6, 6, 6. And the enemies will be going up and down, or they'll be somewhere, right? So we'll put them like right there. I'm actually kind of interested in knowing what this whole thing is going to look like when it's full screen at this point. It's looking pretty crazy, that's for sure. I haven't made a game this way before. So I want to make a few more just to get a sense of what the battlefield's going to look like. Yay, I have a gift in Pokemon Go. So we've got some enemies. Let's just create a new game object, and let's say this enemy wave, and grab each of these enemies and throw them under that. Okay. Enemy wave is not quite centered. I'm going to center it. 0, 0, 0. So I'll... Oh, they're coming out of the screen. That's why. But let's just do -1. Let's do 0. That should be... Why is... Hold on a second. What are these set to? Z is 0. So how come these ones... Ah, that's why. Grab each of these and 0 out their Z. Now they're on the same plane. Okay, so we've got our enemies. Let's move the... We need a blob. So let's make the blob material. Control D. Let's call this blob. Grab blob. Put blob on blob. Blob on blob action. And these are going to be something that you shoot out. Or something you fight. I don't know yet. We might need to make a new shader, honestly. A new unlit shader that allows me to manipulate the texture, the color, live. So for right now, because I don't know what I'm doing, let's just take the butt, call it blob, and just get these in the scene. So we'll take blob, attach it to blob, move blob over, somewhere like over here. The scale is huge. 1, 1, 1. That's even too tiny. 2, 2, 2. That's better. And we'll just put this blob like right there. It's something that's being shot out at, and it's going to come over and hit these guys. But the blobs will have different powers as far as I see it. So they might have horns or other weird things. And that's one blob. Let's make another blob. No, let's not do that. So we've got this wall over here, and we've got this sort of interdimensional rift portal that opens up, and then we're going to have like this crazy starry interstellar background as well. So we need to make a few of those. Let's go ahead and close these out so that my computer doesn't extremely explode due to all the crazy things I'm doing all at the same time. And let's just find some like space, interstellar space. And let's just try to find some nice imagery. Preferably not copyrighted, so I don't have to deal with any of that. So usage rights, Creative Commons. And coming back over here, let's just see if we can find a starry field. Let's not use... The Horsehead Nebula is so well known. Putting it in the background seems stupid. Oh, do we have any of the new telescope? So actually... what is it called? Why can't I remember? James Webb. Yeah, let's look up the Webb stuff. See if we can grab some of them. I do not want you. Let's come back over here and do Webb. Blah, 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 blah. We'll grab something like this. Yes. Copy. And we need a new image here. I'm going to open up the prior one we were working with. So under concept, we'll go here. No, we want to go to Photoshop and screen layout. We're going to work with this. So Control V. This actually looks like trash. You know what? We can make this better. We can do that. Let's. The more we make it our own anyway, the better. So let's take this section, get rid of all the other junk. And do a few things. One, scale it up. So let's Control D that, scale this up, like there. And let's grab it, duplicate it, filter, blur, Gaussian filter this, and very low Gaussian filter though. I'm trying to see, I don't want this. The problem is the black is a little overpowering. So let's see if we can overlay this in some way that makes it look a little bit more interesting. Well, that's different. Okay, that's kind of fun, actually. So if we did that, and then we took the original layer and duplicated that, and put it on top, maybe, and then we, let's get rid of the original layers, go a filter or select by color, just grab something like this, say okay, we filter that out, I hit Control I, and we bring back these ones. Then we're going to get these weird sort of bands everywhere. So what if we did on top of this? We got to get rid of this bit, I know. So let's just try to do this first. We're going to get rid of those. We'll grab all of this and we'll do a content aware replace. I believe I just cracked about 8 vertebrae. Let's go to image, and where's the content aware object selection? No, there should be a content aware something or other. Escape, please. Grab the right layer, filter, select. I think they do a really poor job of placing things under the right elements in a menu. Image, adjustments. Where the hell is the content aware change? Content aware scale, no. Sky replacement, ugh. Fine, you want to do this to me? We'll do it this way. We'll do a, just do a heal. Control D, grab this layer. Oh, fine. We will do a spot heal tool. This is not the right way to do this, I know. But it doesn't matter, it's a starry background. No one's going to know what the hell this was originally. So let's just grab this whole stupid thing. Like this. Yay. And we've got stars. And what I'm going to do actually is delete these layers. I should have done this first. And then we will duplicate this layer. And then we will do a filter. Let's do an invert. Let's just see what happens. Oh, you can see that we've got some lines there that are messing things up. I kind of like that, actually. So we're going to take this original layer now. What if we sort of do something weird? Not in love. Okay. Let's see, so this is the original one. Let's do some kind of interstellar gas. So we'll do a filter. What do we want to do? This needs to be like a gray filter, Shift F5, enter, filter, noise, add noise. I don't know if it needs to do that actually. We need to do a render though. Then we can do clouds, filter, render, difference clouds. And what's the Alt Control F? We're just going to keep doing that a couple hundred times. It's actually turning out worse than I wanted it to. So that's something. So let's do a... Oh, okay. That's interesting. Whoa. Okay, that's a bit much, but certainly kind of fun. You know what? I'm going to save this layer for transition zone. Okay, so that's going to be my weird transition-y area, but this will be my original. And we're going to take... Let's take these and just not make them so opaque, so that they shine through a little bit more. And I kind of... I'm trying to think how I want this to work. Let's keep it. Let's just keep it for now. I want to take the original concept layers that I was working with, these two here and here, and let's throw them in a folder and move them to the top. And then let's do an overlay on that or something so we can see through it a little bit. Maybe we'll just decrease the opacity. Not in love with that. It's not quite giving me what I want to see. Yeah, good enough. All right. I can kind of see what's going on now. All right. So we only need the center region, I think. Then we'll do this weird transitory area. Not sure how I want to do that just yet. I kind of want to create a texture and then make it tile through it. So we'll make that happen soon. Let's get the background done first. Let's grab all of these layers that are going to add to the background and call that background. Okay. Ooh, that levels needs to go in that layer, doesn't it? Why is it doing that? There we are. Okay, and this is the transitory zone. That needs to go above. Okay. It's interesting. I'm not in love with it at all. I kind of want to do something stupid here. And I want to take it and make it weird. Anyway, Control A, Control Shift C, Control N, Enter, Control V. Hold on. Select this. Create. Control V. Let's go to Image, Canvas Size. Choose the upper right-hand quadrant, and then choose this to become square. So we're going to do 222776. Proceed to crop this canvas. And then what we're going to do is Control apostrophe to get rid of that. Let's go to View. Hold on. Let's make sure this is fully cropped. Go to Filter, Other, Offset, 1024 by 1024. So we find the midpoint, which is going to be, well, we don't see it here because I need to go to Edit, Preferences, and Grid Style, Layout. And then under here, we're going to go, we have a grid line every 512 pixels. The issue is that we are not, what is our image size? Oh, our image size is still trash, 24, no wonder. Okay, go back, there we are. Image size, 2048 by 2048, hit enter. Good. Now, filter, other, offset, 1024 by 1024. Now we just look at this main seam line right here that we have. That's bad. So we need to get rid of anything that's touching that seam. We're going to do this just by using the healing brush tool. So we'll do some spot healing. One thing I need to do too is go to the background and replace that with black. That gets rid of that nasty little seam right there. But what we're going to do now is grab the top layer and just start popping out anything that's really close to this border. Ooh, that one's fine. But anything that crosses it and is really not what we want. So continuing to go down, we've got a little speck here and there. We've got these specks, we're going to get rid of them. This little guy, you can go. Okay, you can go. You and you, you, and you. And that's all fine. All right, zoom out. We're going to have a central line down this middle. Do this right there. So we can already see a problem right there, there, there. Moving back over. Got some problems there. That's all good. That's an issue. There's junk. That's good. Good, good, good. Oh, there we are. Get rid of you. You're all good too. Like you. Don't like you. Don't like you, actually. You can go. And okay. Good. So now we have a tileable background. Let's go back to Filter, Other, Offset, do another 1024. I like to do that just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. You never know. Sometimes you can do weird stuff and things don't work out right. So now we have our weird cosmic background. So let's go to File, Save As, and we have Photoshop. And let's call this Cosmic Background. Enter, save, and File, save a copy, PNG. Go back to Poop Chute. We'll go to Unite, Assets, and then let's do Concept for now. This isn't really Concept. Let's call this Background and call this Cosmic or Starry, Cosmic Stars. Enter, save it. Come back over in here now, and we're going to add that cosmic background into the area. So we're going to take the old concept background, duplicate that, move that up here. We're going to take both of these now, and I'm going to make a new game object, as the parent and call this environment. I do say it that way so I remember how to spell it. I'm not a complete moron. Don't worry. So we have cosmic background. We're going to call this cosmic stars. I don't know if that's redundant. So we have background, right click create, and we're going to do a material and just call this cosmic stars. This is probably going to change as we do things. What am I doing? Cosmic stars should go right there. Cosmic stars is a bad size, so we're going to take that 17.5 and move it right there. So that's fine. I have no concept right now of whether or not I want certain things in different areas. This is, let's see, there's environment, which is, oof, I messed this up, didn't I? So hold on. No, that's correct. But this is 1 unit forward. This should be, I guess that's fine. 0 and 0. Cosmic stars, I'd like to pull forward a little bit. So let's just do a negative 0.5. That way it's kind of halfway between everything. We'll put the cosmic stars onto that. Cosmic stars needs a good texture, though, applied to it. So let's go over here. Once again, this is going to be unlit. And this one's going to be just a flat texture. We'll start doing, we can do other fun stuff with this later. Okay, so now we have cosmic stars. Now I want those border zones on the sides. Let's just take a look at what we have for the moment. Okay, it looks like something, that's for sure. Not necessarily something good, but something. Better than nothing, honestly. Oh boy. My friends are having fun with... Wow. So my friends are having fun with a AI filter online that I had found. I forget what it's called. Something XYZ. XYZ. Hypnogram.xyz.com. And you can put in different phrases and it will generate automatic AI images of things. And some of these are actually pretty awesome. But, wow. Anyway, something to look at. So what I want to do now is I want that transition zone, and I think, well, that's fine. But this is a PSD, right? Okay, so this is the screen layout. This transition zone, whoops-a-daisy. This here is what I want to work with. So that's where it's at right now. I'm hit Control L. I'm going to try to normalize the range, and I'm also going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and try to add some additional values. The reason I do that is because if you hit Control L, you'll notice we're starting to get the stair-step pattern here. And if we continued to do this, like if we did this and made it so that the entire range is renormalized or remapped from values between 0 and 255 to this, we'll get breaks. See? Little breaks in it, in our bins. We can blur this to kind of get rid of that, because what happens is when you blur the image, you get values in between. So we can do that if we want to. So something like that maybe. But I see this as part of the transition element. And this is going to kind of move up and down. So I'm trying to think how I want to make this as an actual asset in the game. It's going to need transparency, and I'm going to need to I'm going to need to play with this, honestly. So let's grab a section of this and see if we can make it work. So I'm going to grab like this right here. Control Shift C, Control N, Enter, Control. Yes, please. Yes, Control. No, it's not what I want. Wrong size. Control Enter. Use the size here. Why does it do that? Control. That's a bug. So if I choose this, like if I actually press this, why don't these update? Control V. All right. So now we need to start getting rid of things we don't want. So I'm thinking the easiest way to do that probably is to duplicate this layer, take it, and what I want to try to do is get rid of some of the whites. So let's maybe do some kind of like an overlay mode where we have less to work with. Maybe not. Maybe that's not the right way to do it. Maybe we just need to take some time and do some proper art. Or maybe we can use the spot healing tool to kind of do what we want here and kind of make a weird boundary. No, you can't tell what's going on. All right, so filter. Let's just use the liquefy tool. And just a little bit bigger. And what I want to do is kind of, that's too much distortion. It's too strong. Let's reduce the density maybe. Nope, density is not what I want to reduce. I want to reduce, size is fine. Pressure maybe. No, size was not fine. What I want to do is, oh, that's slowing down my computer. I'm sure that's going to affect the stream quality. But what I want to do is, fuck it. We're going to do this. Excuse me, bad language. I want to do a quick selection tool. And what I kind of want to do is select. Oh, I know how I can do this. Check this out. Okay, we're going to do it like this. We're going to grab like half, something like this. And I'm going to Control C, Control Shift C. Nope. Control Shift C, Control V. That's a new layer, right? And if we take that layer and have its size, rotate it 90 degrees. We've got a transparency now set up, right? If we take that underlying layer and turn that off, take this one, duplicate, rotate that 90 degrees, put these together right here, we can create this kind of cool back and forth motion. Get rid of that one right there. Now if we take both these layers and merge these layers together, we don't even have to merge them technically. I could take this top layer. They're not perfectly overlapping, so this is going to actually, it's going to be better to merge these. So let's do a merge, and then we can go in here with the spot healing tool and then try to create a natural blurring between the two, or that is replace it so that they kind of do something interesting. Like this. Yeah, that's good. All right. And do. Good. And there we are. Okay. So next up might be trying to break this up a little bit more. So we've got something kind of nice here, but it's not perfect. We've got no color. We've got a lot of things. The color, I think, is going to end up coming. It's going to be scripted, probably using a shader. But I'm on the fence on some of this already. But it might be a good start. So the top and the bottom aren't perfect. If we go to image size, we're going to notice that we've got a 512 is good, but that number kind of sucks. So let's do an unlock so that we can change these into a 2048. Enter. There we go. Now it's 2048 by 512, something easier to work with. What I really want to do is thin this even more, maybe to like half that size, and then now recenter it right there. And now that I've done that, I also want to flip this vertically on itself. So let's do other, offset, but the horizontal should be 0. And what I want is the top part to be offset. So this should be 512 maybe. And let's see. Oh yeah, everyone can see my music selection now. So hold on, let me go here, hit enter. What is the image size again? Image size is 512 by 2048. So I need to do a 1024. Filter, other, offset, 1024. 24, hit OK. And then now let's fix this little gap problem. And we'll do that just by using this tool right here. There we are. There we go. Ooh, that's not good. Lost all of its smoothness there, didn't it? It's fine. I don't think anyone will really notice, except for me. All right, so we've got this, and part of me also really wants to liquefy this. Okay, so let's work on liquefaction, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about here, does it? And we'll kind of... The pressure needs to be higher, because I want to get this to really sort of do some crazy stuff. Pressure, increase the pressure. We could start singing a David Bowie and Queen song if we wanted to at this point. Wow, I must be really bored if I'm talking to myself like this. And I kind of want to, you know, like undulate it a little bit more. Back and forth. It's not perfect. I have a different idea in my mind when I was putting this together, but good enough. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Cosmic death. Okay. All right, so we've got something weird going on there. We can go to this layer now, do a select by color range, zoom in and find our darkest dark, and maybe something like that. And then do an, oh, that's interesting. Not what I want. We're going to actually duplicate that and invert the top one. And we're going to turn one off. Yes, actually, I kind of like that. So what are we doing here? This is a whole different document. Yes, so file. Before we lose this, let's save it out to our Photoshop bin. And we will call this under scaled and say transition zone. That's what I'm going to call that. So we've got this interesting little thing going on here. Our image size is 512 by 1024. Okay, not great, but we can make it work. Kind of wondering if I should be taking this into Maya and creating custom model assets that will work with this better. We might get to that point, but let's just rough this stuff in place. So coming back over here, Poop Chute, Unity, Poop Chute, assets, and we'll go to background and do transition areas, transition zone, enter. Okay, come back over here into our game, into this wonderfully ugly looking game. Under environment, let's create that transition zone. So that is going to, let's go to, where is it? Background, transition zone. Create material, transition zone. And we're going to make this a unlit. I'm going to do transparent on this one. That's a little bit more expensive, but it's fine. I don't know how much crazy stuff is going to happen anyway in this game. We're going to take our cosmic stars, duplicate that, and call this transition zone 01. And so it's the, not the Z, but it's actually going to be the X that we want to change. I want to make that like a 2. We're going to put this somewhere around here. Like there-ish, maybe. And I think what I want is, so I've got like this gunk here. I want to replace that with something else. Let's put transition zone right there. That's different. Put that there. So there we are. So that's our transition zone right there. Let's duplicate that. Put that other transition zone on the other side. I don't love it. So let's end. Start. Grab both of these and make this more like a width of 3 maybe, or maybe a width of 4 perhaps. That there. So the transition zone is actually going to sit under the wall of monster is what I guess I'll call it. I don't have a graphic for that right now. I need to make that. So let's go here to our Google Doc. And okay, so there's a bunch of stuff. We've just kind of gotten assets into this, but what we need to do is have a visual asset placeholder for the walls in the front and rear of the monster. Great. Okay, so we've got both of these now. And all right. Just kind of wondering. Oh, the butthole's in the wrong place now. Let's push the butthole further out. So why don't we get some controls working? I almost see this see, let's go to scripts. So this is a floor script. That's the one we had before where it just destroys the floor. We have food spawner. We have a food pellet. So let's put a collider on the mouth object. And when the food goes into the mouth, it will then be destroyed and will then be converted over into something we fire-ish, maybe? We don't have an asset for that, do we? So we've got a concept. We have monster arm, blob, butt, jellyfish, mouth. Well, you know what? We can take the butthole asset for right now and move that behind this one. Let's see. So this is going to be esophagus, right? Now let's create a new game object in the middle. And this is going to end up being the elder god. And we'll put all the pieces to the elder god under that. So we'll put the esophagus under there. We'll put the butthole under there. We'll put the mouth under there. And now we've got all these different pieces that will work together. And this will then fire, based upon food coming in, it'll fire stuff off. So it might be a good idea for us to start scripting things. So let's go to scripts, new folder, and call this Elder God, just so we know what it does. And we will do a script here that's called just mouth. We'll make another one called esophagus. Come on, computer. Focus. We'll make another one called butt or anus, whatever you want to call it. Butt. And okay. So the mouth is static, but when a food item touches the mouth, it is going to eat it or consume it. This is not a good mouth. I need a new mouth. I don't like that mouth. I want something more mouth-like. This is better suited for the wall. So let's do that instead. So instead of calling this the mouth, let's just call this wall. And we're going to move this element here, duplicate that one, and duplicate this one down here. Okay? Now these are going to work with the transition zones. So the transition zone is part of the environment, and so really are the walls. So we'll put them all together here. We'll do front wall top, front wall top, front wall bottom, and we need to move these. So what layer are they working on? Yes, we could do this in 2D, but I kind of like 3D, so we're doing this a little bit different. So it looks like space is part of the issue. So we're going to take space and just move that back slightly. Okay, great. So then we have the transition stuff right here. And now part of me is thinking the transition might be better off. What are you thinking, front or behind? Maybe like right there. And then this other transition zone, we'll go here and we will copy the Z. Nope. That transition start is the same as that one, just in a different location. Okay, so we need to take the front wall, back wall, take these two, duplicate them, and move them off to this side and rotate them 90 degrees. So now we have the beginning and ending of the monster. Now the problem is that the butthole is in a bad place. So we have esophagus and butt. I'm going to take the esophagus, duplicate it, move it to the top, and just say, call this the mouth until we have a better graphic for this. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees, like right there. Then move this to the front part here. I'm going to make the mouth bigger. So something like that. And we're also going to, I think, sink the mouth in a little bit. So there we are. Now this one should be on top of everything else. So I'm going to pull that away. And we'll get better numbers for these later. And I almost feel like this and this, they might need to be upscaled a little bit. So let's scale them up to 10. We'll do the same thing for these ones over here, 10, 10, and 10. We also need to make prefabs once we stop prototyping. Okay, there we are. So let's see what the game view looks like for a second. The transition zones aren't transition-y enough, so we're going to take... Yeah, I almost think the transition zones need to be in front of this stuff. So, hold on. Transition zone start, transition zone end. Take this, move it forward. Yeah, I think I like them better in front. Okay, that's better. This is different, that's for sure. This is very different from what we started with. Okay, so we need a shader. Before we get to the visuals, we've already done a lot of visual work. It's really time to mess with the gameplay, right? So we need the food here. So part of the game element is that the food is going to get, passed in, and you have to choose which one. I'm not sure. Maybe that'll be the left and right. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Haven't thought everything through. But these here are going to get fired out and then used to, do whatever is necessary. Okay. So we've got one monster type. So let's go to the mouth. So the mouth, upon food touching it, is going to eat it, which would then fire some sort of an animation, which would make that happen. Oh, wow, it's already 4:30. I'm burning through today, aren't I? So mouth, let's get an idea of what happens. The mouth is stationary. Let's start commenting. The mouth is stationary and accepts food. If the food touches the mouth, it is processed based upon the type of food. This is used to power up, weaken, to modify what comes out of the esophagus. All right, good enough. Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit today. So mouth monobehavior start is fine. We need to do what now? This transition zone is in the wrong place. Right there. I'm going to have to play with these a lot. Okay. All right, George, let's figure this out. So food is a type. Food has a tag. I believe we set that up before. So food objects, which we have prefabs for here, which is a food pellet, is type food pellet. Let's change that tag. So here's food pellet. Let's delete that, add, and just call it food, but without the weird stuff. New. Save. Okay. Now let's go back here. And what's going to happen is an on collision enter, right? So on trigger enter. On trigger, yeah, it'll just be a trigger. We'll do if other dot compare tag. We're going to do food. If it's food that you're eating here, then process food. We're going to grab it. So we're going to do food. God, we need a parent class for that, don't we? So we have scripts. And we have a food pellet class. Going to move this. Let's keep it there. Let's open food pellet. So let's rename this to just be food. This is probably going to end up being an abstract class or an interface. Oh, we can't do an interface. I'm sorry. It'll be an abstract class. So we'll do food right there. So food. Are you still giving me crap? Semicolon expected. Battle bus. Okay, food. What does food do? It's going to have different types. We're not there yet. So let's go back to the mouth. Food is going to have attached to it a component of type food. So we can do food, food, food is equal to other dot get component food. It's going to grab that component, and then we're going to do a method called process food. So this will be a void process food. And this is going to do stuff. Based on the type of food, we'll process and apply the effects. Okay. Most likely, mouth is going to need access to the esophagus. Okay, and it is going to do something, and then esophagus dot. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. We're not there. So processed food is going to take in an item of food. And this is going to take in food here. We're deferring what happens to a later time. So the trigger occurs. This all happens. That's great. So let's add that to the mouth piece. So we have a mouth. We have a mesh collider. I'm going to get rid of the mesh collider. Remove component, add component. We're going to go with just a box collider. It's a bit large. 1, 1, 1. Oh, 0.25, something like that. And let's reduce the size in that direction. And that's fine. The Z direction is probably what I want to screw with. Nope. Maybe the Y. And we're going to need to offset this. I don't know. Something like that, maybe? It's hard to see the lines. Yeah, that should be good enough. Okay, so now we've got a collider on that. So we do need food to go from this to that. And then we need that to also happen on some sort of a button press. So how are we going to do that? Because I haven't even begun to think about how that stuff is going to work. Oh, wow. I'm really tired. It's 4:30. I'm going to stream for 30 more minutes, and then I should probably do things that involve real life. So food spawner is giving me an error. Food pellet doesn't exist anymore, so we're going to rename that to food. Instantiate type food, food pellet, this dot transform. So the food spawners we can move to where they should go. So here we have old food spawner 1. Let's just stick this right like here. And then food spawner 2, which we'll just like shove up here because we don't really know how this is working yet. And I guess we're just going to fire these in that general direction, right? So the way I'm going to do that is we're going to line up things. Let's go to isometric view. And I need this, and I need to rotate this like there. Go back to there. There's my Z direction, and I want my Z axis to go this way. So we'll put catapults in there eventually. So that'll hit there. I'm going to take the transform of this one and copy it. Go to the second food spawner and paste this. I want to paste the... Why is this not working? Come here. Click here. Oh, you can copy each one individually. I didn't know that. Copy world placement. That's good. And we will do a paste world placement. But now I just need to change a couple things. One, we need this to rotate 90 degrees opposite. So is that that's 90 right there, correct? Yes. And now we also need to go to world space, move this down here, and we can check the difference is so... Oh, my rotations are really nasty, aren't they? That can't be right. No, it's not right. Okay, so this needs to be this, right? Nope. How about this? Nope. How about this? Oh, I'm still in world space, global, local. Yeah, there it is, right there. But this is not going to hit that. So let's rotate this up a bit. Dink. Nope. Rotate this up a bit. Dink. That should do okay. So the food's going to fire there. These aren't quite in the right spot, but it's good enough for right now. So we have food spawner 1, food spawner 2, chink, dink, and great. Boy. Yay. Real life catching up to me. Interns, yay. All right. So let's fire these things off, because right now the food spawners will create food. So let's do a food spawner top or bottom. Food spawner top. And if we hit run, oh, compilation errors, let's fix those. Food pellet needs to just be food. Come back over here. Now we might get some errors. We're probably going to lose association with our prefabs, right? So if we go under food spawner, food pellet, food, that's a C# object. That is not... Hold the phone. Okay, that's probably okay. Let's hit run. So right now there's no force and there's gravity. We're gonna have to turn off gravity for, yeah, so the food pellet gravity needs to be turned off. So let's go under our prefabs, food pellet, and turn off gravity. Great. And freeze position in the Z axis is possibly okay. I need to create a list of all layers and where I want things to be placed on those layers later. Not right now. Okay, so that's gonna, so we need it to fire. We need it to fire in the correct direction. So that's going to come down to the food spawner. I enumerate while is spawning, yield return, new wait for seconds, and so this instantiates the food pellet. Then we need to fire the food pellet off in the proper direction. So let's do instantiate. Now I want to do, let's see, the food pellet should have a rigid body assigned to it, right? So if we go over to the prefab, we select that. Yes, we have a rigid body. So let's do rigid body. Body is going to be equal to, so here's the food pellet. We're also not keeping the food pellets in like a list of food pellets. Do we parent them to anything? Yes, we parent them to this object here. So rigid body is going to be equal to, let's see, food is going to be equal to this. So we'll do food dot get component, and we'll do rigid body. So we'll get the rigid body. We'll body dot. We don't want move position. We want add force. And we're going to do a force in the direction of this. So transform. So this is going to be body dot transform dot forward times whatever the catapult is currently shooting these things out at. So I see that as being a parameter that gets modified later on. Okay, so fire body.transform.forward times, I don't freaking know. About 10. 0F. And we need a force mode. Force mode dot, what do we want? Acceleration of force. What is an impulse? I'm going to do an instant force. I don't know how that's going to affect anything. All right, so we've done that. Let's come back over here, hit run. Oh, they collided. Did you see that? Dink. That one's not getting nearly as much. Oh, gravity must still be on for that one. That's why. That's kind of fun. Not what I want, but kind of fun. So we're gonna find the old. No, the food. Oh, that's why. Use gravity. Set there. Drag and mass seem fine. What we do need is this to be triggered. Is an is trigger collider. Okay, let's try this again. Huh. That's fun. So they are colliding with the object, but we need to go to the mouth now. And here we have something called processed food. So processed food is going to destroy the food for one. So destroy, we'll do food dot game object. So let's destroy the food. Come back over here. Hit run. So they're hitting that. Now I guess part of the question becomes, this is a box collider and it's a triggerable zone. So that's not doing anything. But the environment, it might actually be triggering. So if we go to the like FT and FB, FT and FB here all have mesh colliders assigned to them. And they're huge mesh colliders. In fact, I'm going to get rid of the mesh colliders on those for now and see what happens. We should also be doing some debugging. So under mouth, if food. So does the food pellet have the right tag? No. Food pellet tag doesn't even exist anymore. So let's get rid of that one. Now let's hit run. See what happens. So we're going to fire, bink, bink, and nothing happens. So let's come back here and start checking if this is even triggering. The mouth script isn't on the mouth. That's the problem. I just realized that. So scripts, Elder God. Let's go to the mouth and put the mouth script on the mouth. Hit run. Dunk. Now they die there. Dink. They die a little early. Let's just adjust that by changing the location of the mouth. If we just turn the mouth on, that's the mouth, and we take a look at the collider, we'll notice the collider is in front of it. Let's go to actually editing the collider. I want to move this till it gets to the actual hole of the mouth. There's the midpoint, there's the back point, and I'm going to just sort of do that. Okay, now let's turn everything back on and save and hit run. Think. Okay, so they are hitting something else now. Could be a lot of things. So could be the transitionary zone, could be this butthole, could be this, could be that. This is now sunk into, now these don't have colliders anymore, right? No colliders on those. The environment doesn't have a collider. The transition zone does have a collider, which I'm going to remove. Remove component. Now these have colliders, but they shouldn't really matter yet. Okay, so coming back over here. So on trigger enter, let's do debug.log. Let's print some statements out. Let's do a collision blank entered mouth. What do we want to do? I remember how to do this. Is it modulus S or is it brackets? I can never remember. C# insert string insert variable in string. Let's see. I want to do this is what I want. C#6. Well, that's interesting. Post C#6, they changed the format of how this works. I don't love it, but it works. So we can do a debug.log string.format, and then we can do inside of this. No, we don't need to do it that way at all, do we? We can just do other.gameObject.name plus entered the mouth, or touch the mouth. That sounds creepy. Do that. Not getting any touching of the mouth, even when it hit there. So it's hitting, but nothing's happening. So what is... Let's go to gizmos. Can I just turn on colliders, honestly? That's kind of a mode I would love. It's just collider mode. Almost wish it was the hot swap, too. So what is getting in the damn way? Because something's touching it. Cosmic Stars has a damn collider. That's the problem. The concept background has a damn collider. All right, save, run. Bink, dunk, dunk. All right, so something is still hitting. The butt has a mesh collider. Let's just remove these. What is this? The other butt has a mesh collider, which we're going to remove for now. The mouth has a box collider, which is what we want to touch. The blob, which is right there, has a mesh collider, which we're going to remove. The blob has no business actually existing at the moment. We're just going to stick it right there. Enemy wave is fine. These all have mesh colliders. That's fine. Food spawner, mesh renderer, light, mesh collider, mesh renderer. Okay, let's see if that fixed anything. It's also possible we're just not hitting the object, so if we come at it from like here. Oh, it hit. Okay, food pellets have entered the mouth. The problem is the food pellets are battling each other, but they should never fire like this because you won't get the chance to do that. Okay. Yeah, I need those. We need to have the these fire at the appropriate time. But they're touching. That's what's important. So then processed food should happen. And then when processed food occurs, we can destroy the game object, but then we need to give something to the esophagus to then poop out or shoot out. So the esophagus here needs to talk to, so let's go to esophagus, attach the esophagus script, go to mouth. There's no accessing that. So the easiest way to do that is just going to do a serialized field. So let's do a serialized field, excuse me. Esophagus, mouth, esophagus, bam. Okay, so that's there. Okay, so the food is going to touch the mouth, and then the esophagus needs to, I guess as soon as the food hits the mouth, we can have the esophagus fire. So the esophagus needs to create and instantiate a prefab of some object based upon the stats of the thing that was passed in. Right now we don't know what those stats are, therefore we will just fire those blobs. So let's do that. We will do a serialize field projectile for now. Projectile prefab underscore projectile. This is probably something that's going to have to get generated later. So under scripts, create new C# script projectile. Open up projectile. Ugh, come on. Okay, projectile is now open. So let's get that to work. And sorry, I'm checking something on my computer. So I apologize. Okay, that's all good. I think that's all good. Trying to make sure that my computer isn't completely falling apart, because it might be at the moment with all this crap running. And this room is really hot. I think I'm probably around upper 80s, if not lower 90s, and it's humid as well, which kind of sucks. Okay, it's all good. No issues. No issues. So, projectile. This is a projectile object. Projectile object is probably... Oh, someone I was playing Word Feud in resigned. It's no fun. I mean, at least try to beat me. It's not like I do that well. Okay, so we're going to need another tag, probably called projectile. So we'll go here, add tag. We can see that food pellet still exists. We're going to get rid of that one, add a new one, call this projectile. Save. I wish we could get rid of that one, but we can't. Save this. Good. Okay. Now we need to create a prefab of a projectile. We're going to make this weird blob here, the default projectile that gets shot out of the esophagus. And so let's go to prefabs, take blob, move that here, open the prefab, reset the transforms. So it's 0, 0, 0. Frame up on blob, wherever the hell blob actually is. Blob, where are you? Turn off isometric mode. Frame up. There we go. There's Mr. Blob. A problem with blob appears to be... Why is it a double nested thing? Anyway, so blob is rotated 90 degrees, which no one likes. So let's unrotate blob. Go back over here. There's Mr. Blob. Let's reset blob. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I want to not override. I want to... No overrides. Yes, there are overrides. It's the transforms, you dumbass. So let's do 0, 0, and 0. Okay. Yeah, how do I... whatever. Okay, so here's our prefab of blob. Let's delete blob for the moment. Go to esophagus and add that prefab to it. So projectile, prefab projectile is going to be... Blob needs the projectile class attached to it. So let's go to scripts, projectile, add that. Go back to what? Esophagus, and add the prefab of blob to that. Save. We should probably start creating a folder called projectiles. Oops, that's not what I want to create. Folder projectiles. Put blob under that. Create a new folder called food. And put a food pellet under that. And then we need to create graphics for all the different types of things that we're going to have, but that's not for today. Today is about getting things set up. Okay, so here's a projectile. What does a projectile do? It's going to interact with anything that is an enemy. So these are enemies. We're going to add a new tag and call this enemy. Great. Whoops. New tag, enemy. Not enema, but enemy. Save. Come back over here. We're going to want to add these to our design doc. So Insatiable Worm, let's create a new area called tags and grab those different tags. So what do we have? We have food, projectile, and enemy. And we should also make this something like that, and then working list. I'm going to have to organize all this at another time. This is the kind of stuff I don't like to stream. Like I said, streaming is just about keeping me motivated to work on something and get stuff done, not about busy work like drawing and other things, which I don't think anyone here wants to see. Esophagus, not that you want to see this either. Esophagus, projectile prefab. So we're going to need to have a method called public fire projectile. That's going to be whatever projectile gets fired. Public void file projectile. When you process the projectile over processed food, it is going to have to do something where it determines information about the food. Your mouth determines the kind of food it is. The esophagus is probably going to then just pop out whatever it is. And then what we can also do is possibly have like icons over here on the sides that show you what you've eaten and how it's going to influence the thing you're firing off, right? We'll get to that. It's stuff for the future. So process food, destroy the food object, and then what we're going to do is call esophagus dot fire projectile. It's going to attempt to fire the projectile. So we then need to, in fire projectile, do prefab projectile, but we need to do an instantiation of that object. So instantiate, what? Projectile is the type of the object. Projectile is equal to, why am I doing it this way? What am I doing? This is going to be projectile. It's equal to instantiate projectile. But it's not. It's going to instantiate type of projectile. The type that gets passed in is going to be prefab projectile. Now we need to put the projectile, we need to create it at the right location. For right now, we're going to create the projectile at the esophagus. So projectile.transform, projectile.transform.position is going to be equal to the projectile, is equal to this.transform.position, projectile dot, I think that's all I need really. But then it needs to fire the projectile off. And we can do that. Right now we're using physics, so we might as well continue to use the physics system inside of Unity until I decide that I hate it and I want to move on to something else. So projectiles should have rigid bodies attached to them. So the projectile object here has a mesh renderer. Let's add a rigid body, and then also let's add a collider. Let's do a sphere collider for the moment. It can be just a trigger, I suppose. It doesn't really matter too much. They're not going to bounce off anything. It's not a true physics simulation. We're going to turn gravity off because we're in this other void. And the mass is all fine. All that stuff's good. Is kinematic, which means it's going to be directly controlled. We don't need that so much. Freeze position we do want. I don't want this thing moving in the z-axis. Also, freeze rotations are going to be important. Z-axis is going this way. That is the one axis I do want it to roll about. I do not want it to roll about the x-axis or the y-axis, because then you would see that it's not a flat object. That might change if I create three-dimensional versions of these. Take the concept art and create 3D models. Right now, I don't see a need to make 3D models. We're just going to go with the concept art that I've created instead. So coming here, under fire projectile, projectile.transform.position is equal to this.transform.position. Great. Now we're going to do a rigid body. Body.rigid is going to be equal to projectile.get component. We're going to get a type of rigid body. And then, yeah, that's fine. We should do checks to make sure it's there and all that other nonsense. We're not going to do that right now. Rigid dot add force. We're going to do the same kind of thing as before. This is going to be a vector 3. It's going to be the direction of the mouth. Let's take a look at the mouth and make sure the mouth or the esophagus is pointed in a direction. So notice that the esophagus is pointed down the x-axis. So we're going to need to use, the y-axis. So we need to use the y direction, which means we're going to do an add force, which is going to be this.transform.up times some amount of energy we want to fire it out at. So there's that. Let's do a float projectile force equal to just 10 for right now. Figure out what that means later. Forces might be changed to kinematics. I don't know. That's going to then fire this thing off. So when food is in here, projectiles will get fired off there from this being called. So let's do that now. Coming back over here, hit run. Okay, looking at the game view. Oh, that teeny tiny projectile. Look at that little guy. Bink. That's interesting. Notice how it kind of like bumps back. Oh, that's creating two because two pieces of food are going into it. Okay, that was not fast enough. That's probably because we're not doing the same force mode as the other force mode we use. So let's add a new force mode to this. So we'll do force mode dot, and we'll just do a instantaneous force, just a big of power that's going to push it forward. Let's go ahead and hit run. Come on. Boom. Okay, now we need these things. One, these are firing like not in a sequence that I'd like them to fire at. I want to disable one of them maybe. Yeah, let's disable one of the spawn points, food spawner, because I almost feel like the more food spawners you have, it's gonna happen later. So let's disable that one for now. Hit run. See how this goes. Fire. Beep. Yay. Bink. All right, we might need to do some clever things so that things don't suck. These should never go past this wall, so we're going to need those wall elements to have colliders. Right now they're mesh colliders. I don't like them. I'm going to remove that, or let's do a remove that, add component, and let's do a box collider. This is going to be a triggerable collider as far as I can tell. And it's way too wide, obviously. So let's do a, what is this? Z doesn't matter. We want the X. No, let's do Y. There we are. To be something like that. Okay, I think we can work with that. And maybe X to be this. Let's click on that. Let's copy that component. Come to this one. Remove the other component and paste. I don't want to paste an atlas. I want to paste a damn component. Remove component. Copy component. Come here. Click here. Where the hell is paste? Oh, that's because I'm on that. Let's go here and do paste component as new. There we go. So that's recentered up on that object. Okay, so now we have something that can end this. Let's go back to scripts. We have food floor. Let's say, call this Elder Projectile Barrier Bounds. How about bounds? We could do this hard-coded as well. I'm just going to use colliders to do this. So let's come back over to Unity, open up Projectile Bounds. Projectile Bounds have an on-trigger enter, on-trigger enter. So this is going to, when the projectile strikes the wall, it needs to destroy the object. So the first thing we need to do is other.compare tag, and we want to compare what if other.compare tag, and this is going to be a projectile. If this happens, we are then going to destroy that projectile. So destroy other.gameObject. Great. That will take care of those. Now we just need to add to the back to. So this should be forward wall, rear wall bottom, rear wall top. We've got both of these. Let's go ahead and add projectile bounds to them. That should get rid of the issue. The only other problem is that our projectiles need to make sure they have the correct tag. Let's open the prefab up, click here, and do projectile. Then go back to the scene view. Save. Okay, so now if we hit run, food, dink, and it did not strike. Why? Probably because we don't have a trigger on this. So, oh no, they're both set to trigger, and they both have projectile bounds set to them. Another issue might be whether or not it's actually striking the surface. So if we come at it from the side, we're going to notice that this part is incredibly tiny. So we're going to grab the 0.25 value and paste that for both of these. Now we actually have a wall that will be coming out of this object. Save. And hit run. Pew. Okay. So another problem is that is it actually hitting this wall? And it's not, because it's hitting because there's a gap where the anus is. That's the problem. So I actually think that the wall might be the wrong thing to put the projectile bounds on. I'm going to remove the projectile bounds from that and remove the colliders from these. And instead, we're going to use a transition zone end for that. So let's do another box collider on the transitionary zone. And then we're going to reduce the size of this to something like that. Instead, we're going to take the scripts projectile bound and put that on this one, but we also need the box collider to be a trigger. Now we can hit, oh, nope, that box collider is going to have a bogus number. See, that's 6. That should be something like 0.25. That's like 6 times 10 to the negative something power. So it's a very tiny number. Okay, now we're going to fire this off, right? Dink, bink, and they go away. So obviously the projectiles need to have something fun happen to them when they explode. Right now, not much is happening. Okay, so why don't we have them interact with the enemies next? Let's create a simple enemy script to handle this. So we have Elder God, click, create, C# script, enemy, right click. Oh, come on, create folder enemy. This will be a base class. We'll start with this. Things will get more complicated with time. We'll create a UML diagram for this crap at another time as well. So enemy, what happens with an enemy? It is going to have an on trigger enter function, just like all the rest of them. This is going to, also enemies are probably going to need like health, right? Then we'll start adding other cool things like weaknesses or things that they're strong against, you know, and then based upon the kind of projectile that comes in, we will handle it. So an enemy should probably have a, not a public necessarily, but a protected, I see this as being overridden. So it should be a virtual protected, handle, I'll call it handle projectile for right now, void, and it's going to take in a projectile. Okay. This is going to happen whenever this handles a projectile. So we're going to need, let's just copy the code for the projectile bounds really quick, where we do the comparison right there. We're going to check to see whether or not a projectile has hit us. In this case, this is in the wrong place. This needs to be moved to here. Other.compare projectile. We do not need to destroy anything this time. Instead, we are going to call handle projectile, but we're going to pass it the projectile first. So we'll do a projectile is equal to other.get component projectile. And no, I mean, don't worry about it. Component projectile. Let's just get to work, George, because we don't have much more time before I have to stop. I need to eat dinner, and then I have to be somewhere by, I should probably be leaving by 7 tonight, so, okay. We got this. It's all good. We're making good progress. We've actually got something that looks like a real game in areas with placeholder art. Handle projectile after we get the projectile here. If, I'm going to just do a check. If projectile, then we're going to handle the projectile. We'll pass that here. So handle projectile. Projectile happens here. For right now, we are going to reduce the health of the enemy. So we're going to want a int health, for right now, we're just going to do this like this. We're not going to do getters and setters. So health is going to be equal to 100. Int max health is going to be equal to 100. This is fine. And let's see, handle projectile. Let's do health minus equals, and the projectile has to have like a damage to it is what I need. So let's go to the projectile class and add an int damage is equal to, let's just say 10, increments of 10 for right now. And then we can do getters and setters for this too. But for right now, let's just do a public int get damage. I know I can use the C# ways of doing it, but honestly, lately I've been switching between so many goddamn programming languages, like Python the other night, that it takes me too long to remember how to do it in every single language. So it's just easier to do the thing that works in every language, which is just writing it yourself instead of using the shortcut methods. Although Visual Studio does that for you, if I remember right. So int get damage, this is going to return damage. All right, so we are going to come back to enemy. We're going to go to here. We're going to go to projectile dot get damage. What we could do is, I don't know if the projectile needs to do it or if the enemy needs to calculate it or if we need a damage manager, because there's going to be some complicated things going on with different kinds of effects to make them different. So health minus equals projectile dot get damage. So coming back over here now. Oh, we need to say what happens. We might want some kind of a visual would be nice, right? Of the enemy getting attacked. We're not there yet. So we should probably do a check then. If health is less than or equal to 0, we'll do a this dot game object. We're going to do a destroy on this. Okay, sounds good to me. Health gets updated. This happens. The object dies. We also need a spawner at some point to spawn the different waves of enemies that happen. Dink. Okay, that did not strike that object, so we need to go check the enemies. It looks like we have mesh colliders on the enemies, which is not what we want. So we're going to remove the mesh collider. We're going to add to this a box collider. We're going to make sure that that has some thickness to it. And we're also going to make this not so damn big. And we're going to make this not so tall either. And maybe we should move this to like there. Okay, and maybe a tiny bit smaller. These are also not moving right now. So yeah, there's tons that we need to do. We also need to get the esophagus moving. Ding. Nope. And let's check out what's going on. So here's enemy, enemy, enemy. None of the enemies have the enemy script on them. Let's add the enemy script to them. We should probably also make this a prefab. So we have projectiles, create folder, enemies. Let's grab the enemy, bring it in here, put it in enemies, delete the other two enemies, grab this enemy, duplicate it, and move it to where the butthole is, or the esophagus, excuse me. Hit save, hit run. Okay, so fire, bink, nothing. Nothing happens. Okay, so let's take a look. We have a box collider, but none of them are triggerable. So let's do that. We also, does the projectile have a rigid body on it? I think so. Someone has to have a rigid body on it for this to work. If you don't have a rigid body on it, it doesn't work. Boom. That didn't work. Okay, do the enemies have an enemy tag attached to them? They do not. Enemy. Do we check to see if an enemy tag is attached to the object? No. Enemy. Oh, that checks, right? So the enemy is checking to see if a projectile hits it. Right now, we technically don't need the other way around. Boom. So this object here has a sphere collider, and it looks like it should strike the object. So let's see if the projectiles have a rigid body. They do have a rigid body. That is all correct. This has a I don't know if I can do that. So this is a trigger. This comes out, this shoots, this hits it. This is enemy. Enemy here has a on trigger enter. If other.compare tag is projectile, then we're going to do this. So let's do a debug.log. Enemy has been hit by, and then we will do a plus other.gameObject or other.name. There we go. Let's try this. Let's hit run. Nope. Oh, wait. Enemy has been hit by blob clone. So it is getting hit. Everything else is just failing. So why would it fail? One is if other.compare tag is projectile. So the object hitting the enemy needs to be of type projectile. Let's double check to make sure that our projectile has a tag of projectile. Let's make sure we spelled it right. Projectile. Then we come here and we see whether or not there's a component. If there is a component, then we handle it. So coming down here, the projectile bounds destroy the object, but the projectile itself is not destroyed. I don't necessarily want the enemy to destroy the projectile. I want the projectile to destroy itself. So we could do a on trigger enter, and then we can check to see if an enemy has been hit. We're going to come back over here, going to grab this code there, go to projectile, paste this in here. We're going to get rid of that, and we're going to see if the other one is an enemy itself. If the enemy is there, then a projectile, other we want to do, we don't need to act, all we need to know is that we've hit an enemy. If we have hit an enemy, then we're done. And we'll do a destroy this.game object. Okay, so coming back here, and hit run. Boink. Dink. Okay. Now what I would like to have happen is the size or the scale of the enemy to be decreased in scale as we do this. So what I would like to do is handle projectile. We take the damage, and then we will do this dot transform dot local scale. Local scale should be equal to this dot transform dot local scale times 0.9f. So just make it a little bit tinier. Okay. That way we get a visual representation of something going on. And that's probably all the time we're going to have for today. Dink. Phew, good. Okay, now at least we know that that's happening. Chink. Tink. 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 Good. So what's the enemy's food at, or health at? We don't have that visualized currently. So if we come over to here to debug. Oh, we killed it. Cool. All right, so it is 5:17. I should probably stop for today because I've got some things I need to handle here at home before I go out. So before we do that, I need to update some stuff. So what did we actually get done? Almost nothing, right? So mouth in the middle. So some of these things let's rework what we called this. So what is today? Today is 8/6/2022. Added visual elements to scene, which includes what? So that's going to include what? Background, walls, cosmic transition, cosmic space, enemies, what? Enemies, mouth, esophagus, and butt. Okay, so that's the visual elements we added. Mouth. Created scripts to start spawning food, firing food, food converted to projectiles and fired from esophagus, enemies interacting with projectiles and being destroyed. Okay, so now we need a to-do for next time. To-do. And what we're going to want to do is control the location of the esophagus with the keyboard or mouse. I've got to figure that one out. So it moves vertically. Create a queue of food so that you can choose combos have poop created that needs to be carted away. The poop contains valuable treasures that can be used to upgrade your input/output process. Create some sort of upgrade/power-up system as you add food, add different types of food that change. That's going to be more complicated than I can write. That's going to be a whole thought thing. But what I'm thinking now is the reward for providing things and destroying these enemies is you're going to get stuff shat out on the other end that are treasures, and then you cart them away. Sometimes it's going to be just poop, right? But other times it'll be nice things when you do like really good job, and then those can be used to upgrade the rate of which you continue to give yourself food, or other things in the scene. I'm not really exactly sure yet. It's going to have to be like play around with things and see what happens. Anyway, I think this is a great time to stop the stream for today. When will I stream again, if anyone's wondering? Depending upon how late of a night it is tonight, I might stream tomorrow after 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, maybe at maximum to like 3 or 4 o'clock if I don't feel like trash today or tomorrow. And I think my work schedule is pretty packed for the next week, so I might have to be working towards weekends. But what I will continue to do is take the time that I can't stream and start creating elements like these, like graphics and so forth, and try to figure out game mechanic elements. And then that way when we do stream, I'm focused on actually implementing the game and making it work. So without further ado, I will see you all another time. I hope you've all had a great Saturday or Sunday or whatever it is, whatever time zone you happen to be in. Talk to you later. So long. Goodbye.